Intro. It says broadcast is live. Wow, that was pretty cool.
Yes, and good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States on the East Coast. I am your co-host today, Kimberly Calhoun. I'm also the Senior Executive Producer at IBM TV. With me today, I have Nicholas Palaveda, our Senior Executive Producer.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning,
yeah. Nick. We'll have other people join us as we get the show on the road. This is how this goes.
Right.
Just so everyone knows, our main topic of the day is something that we really don't want to think about anymore, and it's called the coronavirus. But I want to share with you, and our board of advisors decided we wanted to share with you what's going on worldwide. One day we were sitting around talking about this, and we were going, you know what? We're each from a different part of the world. We each have a different story to share of what's going on. Let's get this on air. So we've all committed some time out of our day every day to get on board and share with you worldwide what we're doing. Nick is a financial expert, as well as an expert in many other things. And one of the things he's being tasked with is to discuss the impact that the coronavirus has had with us on the globe.
Yeah, it's a big problem. As a matter of fact, I'm getting sick of the coronavirus as we speak. The thing is, and I'll tell you, Wall Street's getting sick of it too. The head of JetBlue was on earlier, one of the major channels, and saying, we just want one thing from Congress, and that's to allow us not to fly our planes. Because they have a crazy rule, which if you work in the legal area, there are a lot of crazy rules that say if you don't fly at least 80% of your flights during these slots, you lose your slot. Well, no one wants to lose their slot. So what happened in Europe, they're flying empty planes all around Europe, which is bad for the environment, bad for the airline industry because you're burning a lot of fuel and losing money, and the consumer doesn't benefit. It's horrible all the way around, but it's the rule. And then recently, actually, the Europeans decide, okay, we're going to stop that. You don't have to fly your planes anymore, or you're going to lose your slots. But the United States hasn't followed that yet. So in the meantime, there's a lot of flights. By the way, a lot of good deals on flights for these young people who want to fly now. Perfect time to fly, and we've seen people do that. But the thing is, they went to Washington, D.C., went to the president and said, hey, can you please change this rule? Because they don't want to fly their flights empty anymore. And for those who do fly, you'll notice the flights are empty, or at least nearly empty, not at capacity. And they're basically, the industry is going to lose about, they estimate about 100 billion. So it has not only made people sick, it's made the economy sick. And because it's a worldwide phenomenon, it's made the worldwide economy sick, as we're more interdependent today than we were, 100 years ago. So this is really what the problem, one of the many problems of the coronavirus is, besides the fact of the rampant speed up in it. Now, a lot of program trading goes on today. So you follow the market and you realize that what they do, the computers actually do a lot of the trading based on information they receive, including the futures market. So people—
Wait a minute, Nick. So you're telling me the computers are doing my trading for me now?
Computers are doing the trading for the major mutual funds, and they do it through basically artificial intelligence, so that they know, and predictive analysis, so they can figure out where the Dow is going. And
so you're telling me that my investments are relied on artificial intelligence that's truly programmed, the thresholds are programmed by humans who probably don't give a hoot whether I survive.
Oh yeah, they have nothing to do with you. And some of the people that I know that work in the markets were going, well, this has all been Wall Street's been taken over by mutual funds. The mutual fund industry's all been computerized. So the thing is, they get data, and what the data, they make their adjustments in terms of what they're going to sell, buy, et cetera. Okay, and you can actually follow the futures market usually to determine where the market is going if you want to. The individual investor has no chance, like you're just cannon fodder out there.
Let me ask you this question: if something goes wrong and they want to, accuse somebody of security trade issues, can we just sue the computer now?
No,
instead of them
it's not a security. It's not a issue. It's not an SEC issue that this goes on. It's kind of like it's the way it is, because if you think about it, here's the problem with data. Remember, you're trading and you're making decisions based on data. Humans can only get data so fast, make decisions so fast. It used to be that's the way it was, and you tried to do that. Computers get information much more fast, they digest it faster, and they make their decisions faster. So as we're speaking today, and this was my prediction just looking at the futures market without having all the data, that the market was going to go down. Why? Because of that information, the coronavirus. Well, guess what? It's down 814 points as of today. Okay, wow. As of now.
So as the coronavirus goes up, our stock goes down.
Stocks go down, right? Because if you think about it, here's how it affects the industry or industries. It becomes a whipsaw effect. Let's go look at the airline industry. They posed to lose 100 billion. Okay, one already went bankrupt. Okay, a small airline, KB or something like that. I never fly them. But anyway, I don't even know where they're out of, but they're already gone. And because of the lack of passengers, they can't make their numbers meet. So the airline industry sinks. The cruise line industry, well, who's going to go on a cruise today? It sinks. Okay, then all the workers get laid off, and then the workers can't buy other goods. And so these other goods suffer, and so what you have basically a meltdown or a snowball effect.
Well, let me ask you this: what about the cruise lines that they're having to quarantine the people on the boat right now? I mean, how do they recover from an impact like that? Because now they're having to take care of all of these people who are no longer paying for their trip.
That's more of the economic loss. In other words, the thing is, somebody could be on a cruise and then they have to go to work the next day, and they find out they're sitting on a cruise for the next 2 weeks in a quarantine. I mean, that is the realities of what happens with this virus.
And it's not just the big places. There was a small restaurant in Raleigh where somebody had been to that had the coronavirus. The restaurateur, the owner, God love him and God bless him, he panicked, which he should. We all should. And he just scrubbed the restaurant down really well. I don't know if they all went and got tested. But he really cleaned, but he goes, my business is shot. Nobody will ever come here anymore.
Well, they won't come here probably in the future. Yeah.
Right. The community joined together. A lot of the owners of other restaurants started coming to his place to help him rebuild his establishment and business. But again, now we are in a state of emergency in North Carolina. And I think one of the reasons why the governor chose to do this, I learned about this years ago, was when you apply the state of an emergency, then people can cancel their trips and get refunded or partially refunded.
Yeah.
Whereas he is trying to encourage cancel your trips, cancel your events here, so that they are covered by insurance or whatever means to be refunded.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is one of the financial impacts of the coronavirus. If you look at it relative to the amount of people infected and deaths, it's disproportionate. In other words, and some commentators have said, look, we've had 1 million people a month die of heart disease, but that's kind of an expected death. Hey, Willie's just joined us from Australia. Okay,
so I'll talk about one event that canceled.
Oh, the Sarah Week canceled. And also, Kim, Southwest by Southwest or whatever it is.
Southwest by Southwest.
That canceled. Now look at
Sarah Week is the world leaders. Like all the leaders from all over the world.
They're in the oil. Most of them are in the oil and gas industry. They meet in Houston. They've been doing it for 30 years at Sarah Week, and they canceled the event the first time in 30 years, having an impact, but a negligible impact, but an impact on Houston. The big impact was Southwest by Southwest. It's a huge conference, almost equal to CES. 100,000 people show up. $350 million go into Austin, Texas, which, by the way, is the southernmost capital in the United States, continental United States. It's not Tallahassee. Austin, Texas is south of Tallahassee, Florida, which is a good trivia question. Anyway, the thing is, so what happens is they all flood into Austin, generating $350 million in economic activity between hotel rooms, rental cars, flights, food, everything. Okay, guess what? Austin just lost $350 million because it canceled South by Southwest. Why? 30 people died in the United States of coronavirus. It seems disproportional, okay? Until you look at the percentage spread, in other words, the contagiousness of the disease and the inability of us to be able to stop the disease. And if it ever was permeated as a pandemic through the United States, some estimates were 100 million people are going to be infected and 7 million people will die. I don't think it would be that high, but there could be 100 million people infected and 3 million people die. That's really within the realm of computer and analytic possibilities. In other words, because of the lack of able to spread. Another demographic that just came out was if you're over 80, your mortality rate's 15%, not 3%. Okay, so the senior people that are watching the show, you may not want to hang out with crowds.
Well, I know that has so far been what has been predicted. I think children are so active and busy, and they continuously have mucus, and because they say mucus is our friend with this disease.
Yes.
But they're at the school across the street. They had 3 people infected. Now, across the street from me scares me. I live out in the country. I've never been happy about having a school there. They just finished building a school next door to me. And I thought, well, you know what? That still buffers me really well. I'm about 3 to 4 acres away from the school. There across the street, I'm literally maybe 100 feet away from them.
Yeah.
But they shut down the school. There was news reporters out here yesterday. The 3 people were found to be contaminated, according to the news reporter. Yeah. Now, we know not all news reports are true. Yeah. But this, there was nobody at the school. So it could be very well true. I've heard that they're scrubbing some of them down. Willie, welcome.
Yes, Willie.
Morning.
How are things down under in Australia, mate?
Yes, so a lot of workplaces have had to rejig their work policy, especially in context of one, you had to build or develop a policy regarding the coronavirus. We've had schools in lockdown mode. Really? So these are like childcare centers because of the travel and the children with parents traveling. Right. So at my wife's childcare center, they've now developed a policy yesterday, so that anybody that came in contact had to self-isolate. Yes. So they've had 3 people that just traveled from China.
Oh, really?
The other thing, Australia has a huge dependency on China. The universities, like a lot of them, like 3/4 of them, have this huge China dependency. A lot of Chinese students are the main players in that space. So the universities now are rejigging their whole system. Like most of them are doing it online. Some of them are doing it online now, as opposed to face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
And other policies surrounding that. So one of the things that's come up is your sick leave, because we only have like a certain amount of days, like 14 days or 21 days per year, and that sort of is built pro rata into you. Like you cannot just take them. You have to like earn it. You have to actually work the days, then it comes over. So it's pro rata across. But now with self-isolation, we've had, there was a lady that worked in Woolworths, one of our big superstores. She's exhausted all her sick leave because she's had to do the 21 days in isolation. And that isolation, she's still in China. She hasn't flown out of China.
Wow. Okay.
The other thing that's happened is one of the things that's come across, a lot of people. So we've moved over from the toilet paper to other food. basic food stuff.
No, but
So
you know
the
what,
panic-
Willie, your point on that the other day hit home, and I started talking to people about what's going on, and everybody's stocking up for, like, as if it were a national
Yes.
disaster storm, and that's why we're running low on all of these items. It had, but it was, you brought it up, and it was very funny in a way. But I was talking to people just here in our country, and they're running out of toilet paper,
Yep.
sandy wipes,
Yep.
all kinds of things.
Yep. The other
What else is a big item that they're running out of?
they're starting to stock up on pasta. I don't know why pasta.
Well,
But I
lasts
suppose-
forever.
Yeah, and it's an easy meal to cook.
It's easy and it stays a long time.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
they're stocking
I
up.
stock up on peanut butter and tuna and anything
Yes.
canned.
Yes.
Anything canned.
Yeah, well, there isn't much mortality in the young people, but they're the carriers, and that's one of the problems. And then
Yes.
as you get older, or you have compromised, health situation, then the mortality goes up dramatically. So it almost like skews up
Yes.
people that are older and have more health issues. In Kirkland, Washington, in the United States, there was a healthcare center. Of course, the healthcare centers, it was actually a home health, what they call living center, assisted living. And I think they had 30 people already die in that just one facility. In other words, if it infiltrates into these assisted living facilities, it just wipes out the population, because they go there because they're not in good shape to begin with. They're elderly to begin with. And the last thing in the world they need is the coronavirus, because of coronavirus. Yes. But how does it get there? And this is the reason why the quarantines. Young people or people that are relatively healthy, but they're carrying it, go into the center. Okay. Well, like one of the employees. Well, I just got back from China. Big mistake. Or I came back from Italy. No one wants to hear that anymore. And the thing is, and you walk into one of these centers to go to work, and you have a mild flu, which is the coronavirus, and you infect people, and they just go off like a rocket. It's just not good. So what do we have here? And is this happening in Massachusetts right now, Kim?
No, this is worldwide. Ankit hasn't joined us yet. He usually, but because you're talking about statistics, I thought I would share a little bit about what's going on. Yeah, but this is Massachusetts, as you were talking about.
Yeah. It's Washington State is ground zero over here.
Yeah, that's where it seems to have filtrated in. First, we don't know 100%. Exactly where the official ground zero is. We had a patient come from there to North Carolina. It raised a huge red flag. But, it could be somebody else somewhere else that brought it in. I don't think we've panicked hard enough. I hate saying that, but I don't think we took it as serious as some of the other countries have. India, they seem to be the least impacted by any of the coronaviruses. Mm-hmm. And I have to ask myself, why is that? But I'm going to pull up some other live updates. I don't know if you can see them.
Well, I can see the coronavirus cases in Massachusetts, but they look benign. New Rochelle, which is right north of New York City, just quarantined the entire city because they didn't have cases. And it has a population around 80,000 people, and it's just a suburb of like New York. It's right north of New York. So
can you see?
Yeah, these are presumptive cases.
Right.
Norfolk, Plymouth. Okay, 91. Okay, so it's actually starting to infiltrate into Massachusetts, and this is the real problem. Okay, is containment, and I think that's the policy right now, is to contain as much as possible. My belief is that you contain, wait for the warm weather, and that's maybe the reason India, which is more subtropical and tropical in nature, the warm weather comes into the northern hemisphere and reduces the impact of the coronavirus. I think that's the strategy. But as you listen to all the talking heads and the experts, it's almost like everybody has no strategy. In other words, like, what's the strategy? We have no. But part of the problem that I see is that the leadership is politicians and not medical doctors and people that are experienced in pandemics. And around the world, there are some people that have studied this. Like I said, some MD, PhD, who have studied pandemics and has a handle on the best or optimal solution or solutions to a pandemic. And those people are sitting in the back room somewhere in the world, and they may be too busy to provide any leadership. So unfortunately, we rely on our political leaders to tackle a problem that they're just not expert in tackling.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. If you caught the first part of our show yesterday, here's Ankit just joined us. I hope he's okay. Good morning, Ankit.
Well, he's in India, so he's okay.
Morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning, Ankit. We were just talking about how in India, you seem to have a secret that the rest of the world doesn't have, and you're not as impacted by some of these coronaviruses that have happened to us in the past. And, it's good to be sharing these kind of resources amongst ourselves. But, India seems to have a routine maybe, or a habit, or better food and lifestyles. The article you shared with me was quite funny. Are you there?
Well,
okay.
Take it as a lifestyle. Can you hear me?
We're waiting for your camera to get on. We can hear you.
See you. We're waiting for you to
see you. Your camera's not on.
Can you hear me?
Just barely.
We can hear you, but cannot see you.
Am I audible now?
So while we wait for Ankit to, we can't see you, but we can hear you a little bit.
Okay. No, I am not in a position to open the cam right now, but I can certainly talk.
Okay.
India, I mean, we have around 5 to 7 new cases today as compared to yesterday. And as far as the impact is concerned, I think because of the lifestyle what Indian follow compared to the rest of the world, I think that is what matters. And when we do lot of prayers with the fire, and I personally feel that I think that is what saving us, because whenever we do a prayer, we put a light candle or a lamp in front of the God. And I think that something what we are doing with the heat on a daily basis, that is reducing the impact. Also, in India, I mean, it's not fully summer, but it's around 90 degree Fahrenheit, most of the India. So
and that's what I think has a lot to do with it. It's hot there.
Yeah. So I think that is what the cause is. But if you talk about Kerala and all those, whatever places we'll find the corona, it is mostly because people traveling to China, Iran, Italy, and we got the corona from there. That is what we have been analyzing so far. And also, I think people are following a lot of homeopathy, Ayurveda, all kinds of medicines to make, to create, or maybe to improve their immunity. And if someone has a good immunity, corona won't be able to affect that person. So it's a mixture of all the things which keeps people running for their life.
Well, and I think survival is where we're at now, is that survival mode. What do you do to put into place to protect yourself, preventive measures? One of the things we talked about is your hands are your enemy right now. Don't cut them off, but cut off your contact, right? So instead of shaking hands, we pray, we put them together, we say hello in the traditional ways that you do in India, right? We put our hands together and slightly bow and say hello. Contact is huge I think, in the elements of all of this. They say that a lot of people are picking up the virus by their hands, and they're putting their hands to their face, and their hands become the carrier of what the virus is. They swear it's not airborne, but I find that hard to believe when ground zero in our body is our lungs. I don't care what anyone says. Ground zero is our lungs. That means you inhaled it and it goes to your lungs. That is the first point of contact that is usually made in your body. They also discuss that it gets into the intestines. And what it's doing in the body is it's tearing these little holes. The reason why they call it corona is it's got little spikes all over it. And these spikes attach themselves to the insides of your body, and it tears holes into them. The damage is permanent. So once you contract this disease, it's permanent. They have no cure. So preventive is the cure, true cure.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good. And I notice when people go into survival mode in Australia, they buy toilet paper, right?
And other foods, as Willie was sharing with us.
I'm scared to death of catching disease, so I think I'll go out and buy some toilet paper.
Well, and pasta. What about pasta? I had to go to the post office box yesterday to drop off something for my son. I was petrified because when I arrived there, they had just put our state into a state of emergency.
In Delhi,
we're missing you, Ankit. I wish you had a better contact.
Yeah. So anyway, latest on the Dow, it's now down 902 points.
Okay, and then if we look, the statistics are showing that.
Oh, the Dow is down 902 points as of now.
Wow. If you look, I don't know how true this is today. We're up to 114,000 yesterday. It was 113. This is as viewed by country. I have been told that they only update this once a day, which is around noon. They compile all of the data. For some reason, they say closed cases. I don't know if that was. Can you help me out here, Ankit?
A stock to watch is Gilead Sciences gains after CDC confirms use of coronavirus treatment.
So let's
Gilead
talk about that.
Gilead Sciences is actually a pretty good corporation. They do a lot of research in this area. And apparently they have developed, the last 3 hours, at least they made an announcement, a coronavirus treatment. We'll see if we can find out more what they're doing over there.
Well, we need to start putting more funding into this because this is the third strain. And what I've learned from some of my resources is that they will invest in money to do all these preventive measures and to contain it. But then they stop funding once they get it contained, and they stop funding the research to find a real solution. So we still don't have a solution for SARS or MERS. So if it ever raises its ugly head again, we're in trouble. It's just, is that the same for you, Willie, in your country?
Yes. The research, the moment we've gotten over and we've contained the thing, it does not go on to a completion. There's no completion date. As in, we have the vaccine and we sort of moving forward. The moment they get the funding for the research, and then we have another election, and the new incoming party says, "Okay, let's change our agenda." So they move in a totally different direction, and we're back to square one. So
exactly.
If SARS rears its ugly head again, we're caught.
And how many times does it have to happen before they really realize that they need to invest funding into the research for these diseases? I mean, and good morning, Sasha. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Sasha. Tell us what.
Sasha.
Everybody.
How's the coronavirus treating you in Canada and in Russia and all the places that you hang out?
I just came back from Latin America. I was there on fantastic trip, including cruise ship for 2 weeks from Buenos Aires to Montevideo to Rio to some absolutely incredible, wonderful places. So the trip is over. But interestingly enough, we have friends on the cruise from Israel, and they had to fly just last Sunday. They had to fly from Buenos Aires to Rome to Tel Aviv. So guess what? Their kids started to cry, please do not fly from Rome. In the meantime, they closed flights from Rome anyway. So they had to book their flights from Buenos Aires to, so they went to Madrid, and from Madrid, non-stop, of course, to Tel Aviv. However, it was the last flight from Madrid that was allowed to land in Israel. No more flights from Madrid either. I think they closed their airport anyway.
Right.
Now, I just got their message 10 minutes ago that one 11 years boy on that plane from Madrid to Tel Aviv was infected by coronavirus. So they put our friends now in quarantine until 16. They cannot go out of their apartment. They cannot invite anybody. The only thing is they can, of course, communicate with me Wi-Fi or through
the internet.
WhatsApp. And even though she asked me to wash my hands.
Right. Yeah, and Sasha, that's the reason, Willie, that's the reason people buy toilet paper.
Well, guess what? Yesterday I played a chess game as a part of a Toronto team championship. And guess what? I sat on the board and I didn't know how to greet my my opponent. So he was looking at me, I was looking at him. So finally we just over fists.
Yeah, you know, I'm wondering, do you see it as already affected the chess community thing? I had Timur Rabajov is not going to be playing in the candidates, and some of the candidates actually asked it to be postponed. The Scholastic chess is just starting to heat up over here, and I'm not, they didn't cancel the events, but I'm not sure if the parents are going to let their kids go, because every way I think about it, how are you going to not infect another child because you touch a piece, they touch the piece, you know.
But look how lucky we are with chess. At least we can play on the internet.
We can play it on the internet. No, I'm totally with you. I mean,
a couple of days ago, I was watching a fantastic soccer match between Juventus and Inter in Italy. Empty stadium, no people on the stadium. That's hurts. And today there are two major soccer matches in Germany with UK teams. Also, empty stadiums will be there.
Well, it's almost like sports resist this completely, because over here they're going to have basketball March Madness, and you know, the real question is, are the stands going to be full? How are you going to stop the contact? They haven't had such a big spread over here that people have taken it seriously, but it certainly can create a ground of infection. Sports shows can completely. So I think we're going to have an effect on that if the numbers keep ratcheting up in the United States, which I'm not really sure what they're doing today. The Dow doesn't like it. The Dow is down about 900 points right now for those who are investing, as we're sitting today.
Actually, the way things look, it appears to me that compared to Europe, Israel, other countries, China, for example, I think US at large is not considering that as seriously as it should.
Right.
And I think that with the complacency what is there right now, the Dow is heading to 1,500 from here, and how it affects investments. She's the notion of value investing is really dying, if it's not dead already. So today, people will just either buy enormous amounts of puts on the index, that's a valid strategy if the Dow will go that low, and nobody knows, of course, for sure. I'm personally trying to, for example, buy well out of the money and say January or even July 21 calls on. Basically, there are three stocks they're talking about. It's Nvidia, it's Costco, and Apple. I mean, I think all the rest of the stocks you may throw in garbage. And with these three stocks, if you have those out of the money and far away calls, you can start right close calls like April or May and collect some premiums. And by the time that of expiration of your faraway positions, I think there will be well paid off by that time. Of course, there is no guarantee that that strategy will work either. But look at what's happening with Boeing. Look, Boeing.
Well, the thing is, see, this is where the science stocks like Gilead stock is up currently today up 2.74%. But Gilead announced they're bringing back a medicine they were going to use for the Ebola virus to treat coronavirus. It's experimental, so there's no proof that it's going to work. But the science stocks and the ones that do research are actually heading up, and the ones that are heading down are companies like Boeing, Carnival Cruise Line, all the airline industry, things that get the immediate impact of the lack of people traveling and in general. So
I heard very interesting comment just recently on CNBC that today's valuation of a Boeing is equal to valuation of Tesla.
Really? Could be true. Yeah, I mean, because Boeing stock is off about 10% today. You know, they're taking a big hit, but that's happened with all the airline industry, because the real question is, how long is this going to last? How much is it going to affect the economy? You know, if you look at it in terms of raw data in the United States, the amount of deaths are negligible. 30 people, 40 people. I mean, we have 500,000 people a year die of heart-related disease, 40,000 a month plus die of heart-related diseases every month, and it doesn't affect the stock market. But that's because it's a predictable amount of people that die every month. In other words, it's a predictable demographic. When you go into the coronavirus, it becomes an unpredictable demographic. In other words, how fast does it spread? How many deaths does it cause? One demographic says if you're over 80, that your mortality is 15%, not 3%. And then if you're under 25, it's nearly 0%, but you become a carrier. And because of the lack of predictability of how fast it spreads, and apparently it spreads pretty fast, that it has the markets shaken. In other words, and people scared because, and rightfully so, because one person comes in and they can infect a whole group, which we've seen on cruise lines. You just got back from a cruise line, Sasha?
Yes. But, well, a week ago. But I want to tell you something. At that
They
time,
wait, they didn't quarantine you?
No.
No? Did they test anybody? No, wait. Did they test anybody? Or you just guys, I just got a cruise, I'm coming back?
No, the fact is that the ship was in South America waters. At that time,
So it's safe.
South America.
Yeah.
And I just realized now how lucky we are that because we visited Rio's this Samba Carnival, and there were like 85,000 people and so on. Today, first of all, I would never go on a cruise ship.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying, the cruise lines.
Second of all, I would never go to Samba Carnival because they have that huge, they call it Samba Drome. What it is, it's a huge place, about maybe 50, 60 meters wide and kilometer and a half long. And they have all the Samba schools, and there's the music, and they're dancing, and people are so excited. And it starts at 9 o'clock in the evening and ends 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, we left around 1:30 in the morning because the music was so loud, and I just had enough. I'd rather to go go get some rest.
Yeah, Carnival stock is off about 50% this month. In other words, you lost half your value, half your market cap is wiped out. And the odd thing is, it's continually, Carnival is continually going down. In other words, it's down and continually going down. So it may even go down further.
Yes. And now with coronavirus, it should go down to 50 cents a share.
Yeah, go down 50 cents a share. Well, they're giving away.
I think I'm going to invest in toilet paper, peanut butter, pasta. No, I'm serious.
No, yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that's very interesting whether or not those things go up. Well, the science, like I say, the science stocks are up.
Let's talk the realistic part of this. A lot of people are saying, don't be ridiculous. This is just like the flu. I think that when China, with the article that Ankit shared with us yesterday, was pretty shocking, where they said that, when it first started to evolve, they tried to keep it from the public. They hushed it. And was that a good idea? I don't think so. I think that the minute you have an epidemic type virus that people are catching, you need to inform people so that they can make the choice whether they want to go out or not. And that, I mean, they keep saying, "Oh, don't be ridiculous. Don't shut down everything. You're going to cause an epidemic panic." It's just
pandemic panic.
More people die of the standard flu. Well, it's not just the flu. They prove that this will create a permanent damage in the human body. National Geographic is probably one of the most reliable resources for content like this, besides the CDC or the National Foundation of Infectious Diseases, which are probably your three best resources for this kind of information. There is a world counter that I was sharing earlier. I think that world counter is definitely reliable. They update daily at noon.
Yes.
What the cases are, how many of them there are, how many of them are recovering. But they only update this every 24 hours at noon. Every 24 hours they're giving this. But this is no joke. This is spreading fast, and you can have it in your body for more than 4 weeks before you're even aware you have it. So how many people do you think you can be in contact with in 4 weeks, especially if you travel or go to work?
Kim, you are working on very thin ice with your suggestion. Why? Because it ties up concepts of a medical problem, political problem, and financial problems. There are three problems all at once. However, probably the medical problem is the most important ones. And countries like China, I saw one documentary a couple of days ago when they show one Chinese city which is empty. There are no cars, there are no people, there's absolutely nothing. Of course, something like this to implement in the United States is next to impossible. Nobody in his right mind will suggest that. However, China will get back on track within the next few weeks. In 2 to 4 weeks, they will be back on track. The US is taking different approach, but that can prolong this horrible situation, especially on financial markets, for next several months. And that's politically speaking, it's worse than another few thousand people would die. So you have to wait all this, and I don't know what's the right answer.
Yeah.
I think it's a personal approach. I think it is a personal choice.
Yeah.
And I think people need to think smart about this because, everybody's telling me, oh, it's just like the flu and a lot of people are getting over it real quick. I have yet to hear what they're doing to treat people for the virus when the people are brought in to be treated. Has anyone received any information on that?
Well, only what I saw in Gilead Science, which is now treating people that on their experimental therapy. So that's the only one that I know that's out there. And their stock went up 2.5% based on that. The overall mortality rate, if you look at it in this respect, is only 3.5%. So if you walk into the doctor's office, they go, hey, bad news, you have coronavirus. Good news, you have a 96.5% chance of living. Well, that's actually pretty good. Bad news, you have 3.5% chance you're going to die. And if you walk in and you're over 80, bad news, you have a 15% chance you're going to die.
Let's talk about this.
It's all about the
How are they
numbers.
treating it? I understand the mortality statistics, but how are they treating it?
It's an experimental therapy right now. It's a drug that they had out for the Ebola virus that they're testing on the coronavirus. So, and this is going to be one of the problems you're going to see no matter what. All the medical treatments and vaccinations are going to be experimental for a while. And that's one reason they want to slow down the rapid growth to get science to hopefully get ahead of and get some sort of treatment or vaccine out there. Because if it spreads too rapidly, it basically gets ahead of the science, and there's no way you can stop it. It just it'll just go all throughout the world and kill a bunch of people. I mean, basically. Merkel in Germany stated that she believes that 2/3 of the Germans could become infected. Because remember, Italy is pretty close to Germany, and they go back and forth a lot there in Europe. And so the thing is, and all you need, and they're close contact, and there's certain sectors they have very dense populations, which become a problem, and they're in a cold climate. The only reason I think India doesn't get it is they're in a warmer climate. So I think Ankit and the people in India are generally safe because the warm climates. One of the scientists were saying it breaks down the virus, and if we do go into the summer months in our hemisphere, in the northern hemisphere, we may see a mitigation of the virus. We don't know, but what I do see is, it seems to me, at least here in the U.S., there's no leader that seems to have any clue as to what's going on. So it's almost like everybody's walking around clueless. All I know is
one of the things I've looked up, because it's concerning to me, water is a main resource for life.
Yeah.
And one of the articles that I read, and one of the reliable resources, because that's all I'm reading, are the CDCs and the NFIDs. There is a research paper in Arizona on this, and I think they were the only ones who reported this topic, was that it seems to break down in water as well.
Yeah.
So,
being hydrated would be good. I think
hydration is very good.
I think going out and buying toilet paper, which is the Australian solution, I just don't get that. I mean, I understand. I'm scared of a virus. I think I'm going to go out and buy some toilet paper. That'll take care of it.
No, it's about being prepared for the storm.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I'm saying that what most people do, and they do it here too, by the way, Willie. So it's not just in Australia, but there's a run on toilet paper here too. As you run out and go buy toilet paper, that'll take care of the virus.
There's a run on Sanagel. There's a run on
a run on toilet paper. Yeah.
Lysol, I think, but they've even said, if you do the myth and truth, Lysol, where it says could help prevent SARS and MERS, that it really doesn't. Your true protection are your true habits, which is something I learned from Ankit. Eat healthier. They detox their bodies a lot. This is, I don't know if you can see the lemon, but to eat healthier, to detox your bodies. If it gets into the liver, your liver needs to be healthy enough to flush it out, to feel. That's what your liver does.
Yeah.
Your liver.
So you drink more Corona? Is that the solution? Corona will kill the coronavirus?
Yeah, there we go. Can we drink Corona? Put the lime with your Corona. Put the lime with the Corona, and it's healthier. But detoxing our bodies in a healthy way will help protect you. Your habits. Don't shake hands. Put your hands together. Don't touch surfaces. Don't touch anything. As they're telling people who ride the trains, keep your hands in your pocket.
Yeah.
Try not to touch anything. If you touch something, wash your hands really well. Because they say that by touching something and then putting your hands to the face, which we do naturally all day long,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
20 times an hour according to one stat.
Right. That this is your enemy right here. So if you rub your eyes and you get it in your eyes, a lot of people don't know this, but your eye duct transmits fluids to your stomach, straight to your stomach. And I learned this when I became really sick one time with an eye makeup I was using, eye makeup remover.
Yeah.
And we learned that it was transmitting straight from the eye duct into the stomach.
Yeah.
So
but Kim, I saw one study on that. Come on, it's next to impossible. They took a kid and they put a little powder on his hand, and they found out within an hour he infected the whole class. I mean, this whole concept, seriously, this whole concept, I'm going to ride a train and I'm not going to touch anything somebody doesn't touch, or subway. Good luck with that one.
Well, if you could ever ride the train without grabbing something to hold,
exactly. Yeah, come on. It's just not going to happen. And then the same thing with the airlines. Oh, I'm going to sit in a seat no one's going to sit on and touch. Come on. They say, and what they do is they say, well, we wash the plane every night for 7 hours. That doesn't mean jack. Come on, let's just.
I didn't wash it before my flight.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, okay? Right. Okay, it's empirically obvious. If I sit in an airplane seat, somebody sat in it before me, just because they cleaned it last night doesn't mean I don't get infected. I do get infected.
And I'm going to.
Okay? You know, so no matter what hogwash they're trying to say, well, it's safe because we clean the airlines or we clean the train, it ain't going to cut it. I mean, you know. Come on, Sasha. You came back from the cruise. Oh, yeah, I went and I ate in the restaurants, went to places, and I never touched anything anyone else touched. Come on.
Wait.
You're fooling.
You're way much safer when you're flying in a business class, because in a business class, you have a compartment. Then you don't see anybody. You're just, I wanted to play chess with my wife, and I couldn't. Because she was separate compartment, I was separate compartment.
Sure. Yeah, some of the business classes, you're in your own individual.
Okay, yeah, or you fly first class. I can appreciate first class. I like flying first class.
First class people get sick.
There'll only be one person next to me.
There was no first class in that.
I disagree, guys. I disagree.
You're like
they use the same air conditioning system in the plane.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what they said? Well, it filtrates 99% of the germs or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Does it filtrate out the virus? Oh, yes. We're not going to answer that question. So they didn't answer that.
You have
right here, people.
Later, we're all going to die. So
you're all going to die.
Thank you, Sasha.
Sasha, take advantage of this cheap. Hey, Sasha's got it. You're all going to die anyway. You might as well take advantage of the cheap flights, the cheap cruises while they're out there right now. Okay, they're all on sale.
But let me explain to you about the mask. They say the mask won't prevent you from getting the disease, and that is so true because we still put our hands up here. But let's talk about the mask for a minute. It prevents you from spreading the disease if you have it. Most people don't know they have the disease until they're symptomized, and then it's too late. So the mask is more about not spreading what you have than protecting you from getting it.
Kim, but don't you agree that at least at first, realize that you have symptoms and then wear the mask? Because if you don't have symptoms, what's the purpose of the mask?
Yeah, well, the thing is just wear it every day until it's all been contained. This is what I tell people. We need to start taking the precautions for containment. So even if you don't have the symptoms, you could be a carrier.
But also, yeah, that's right. You may not have the symptoms. You may be a carrier several weeks.
Animals are carriers.
So here's
which animal has it.
Okay, here's the best solution. Avoid people. Okay, people are bad. Just avoid them. All right. So whenever you see people, stay away from people. Do everything on the internet. Watch IBM TV.
Run.
Watch IBM TV. We have plenty of content.
Watch IBM TV. Read a book.
At Northeastern University, where I teach, they do all the courses online, so they never meet anybody physically. So the thing is, use online resources. Okay, and stay away from people. People are bad.
Online resources, you can travel around the world like we do just by sitting at home and talking to people from around the world, like Sasha and Willie.
Yeah, right. And
conference bridges, Skype.
Take 2 weeks off, stay at home, and then see where this is 2 weeks from now.
I think that's probably the thing. The whole world should shut down, go on vacation for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And then we call this the All World Week. And detox. And if you're sick with symptoms, call the doctor. Don't go in. Maybe they'll send you a kit, but certainly they might send you resources that you need to heal. Because again, we don't know what the treatment is that they're giving people. I would love to speak with a person who has survived this. I don't know. Have they interviewed anyone on TV that has survived this?
I believe they have, yes, but I'm not sure. There's so very few cases in the United States.
There's an English teacher in Wuhan. He had it back in November when it was just breaking out, and I saw that on Facebook Watch, I think it was.
Right.
And
we'll try to find one and invite them to our program. So we just scour the internet to find any survivors and see what they have to say about it. I've been trying to go on the internet through LinkedIn and Facebook and find experts and also people that survive them and bring them on our program.
So total today yesterday it was 27 deaths. We're up to 31 in the U.S. now.
Yeah.
According to the World Meter. Now, World Meters is where everyone else is getting their resources from. They update this once a day. I even think CDC is utilizing that resource. Sometimes we can't just keep producing our own resources or reinventing the wheel, so we share. And according to my resources, everyone is going to the World Meter. And they're right now, as of today, 31 deaths, 1,016 cases are reported in the U.S. I think it's probably higher now. Because this was taken yesterday at noon.
People are being tested in U.S. Unlike in Italy, Israel, China, there are no tests in U.S. So the number could be 1,000, it could be 10,000 or 100,000.
Well, and also, if you consider
this is a very, very big problem in itself, and there is no solution to that. I'm sorry.
I think there is. I think we hit the nail on the head. Everybody stay home for 2 weeks. Period.
Yeah, good luck with that one. I like the Australian thing. Let's just go out and buy toilet paper, mate. I'll take care of it.
And pasta. They're buying pasta now. So what I find interesting about this is when I learn something about what you're doing in your country, it seems like it's the same thing that we start doing. So some of the other countries are ahead of us right now with the coronavirus. We know that China has been ahead of us for almost 3 months now. The reason why they call it Corona 2019 isn't because it occurred in 2020. It's because they discovered it in 2019.
Right. Or you can see, you can go to Africa. Africa doesn't have many coronavirus cases.
What about Mexico? I haven't heard any news about Mexico, Nick. Can you look that up?
Mexico does have some cases, but not too many. As you head toward Latin America, it's too hot.
I have a better solution than Africa. I'm looking now for a flight and a hotel in Aruba because there's a climate. So most likely you will not get coronavirus there. There are enormous, incredible deals on hotels, on flights. Nobody is flying, nobody is staying in the hotels. There are fantastic deals. You can fly there maybe for $500. And the hotel you can have Hilton for maybe $100.
Don't tell Nick that, he'll start booking now.
No, I'm totally with Sasha. I think he's got a great solution. You go to some little Caribbean island and hang out there for a while when it blows over.
Look who's joined the conversation. Oop, he dropped off. Ankit's trying to join us. So, Ankit's going to jump in here in a minute.
Sasha just gave me a great idea. You fly down to one of the Caribbean islands and hang out, like Grand Cayman.
I play a lot of chess there.
Yeah. Hang out in one of those places.
In Aruba, I play with my wife now. We played 30 speed games a day.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic time, and it's very pleasant place.
Yeah. Oh, down in Aruba. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We stayed at Rui, how do you call it? Rio Antilles. It's
Right.
it's only 5 stars. It's a great place. I would go there probably even later on today. If I,
Oh, yeah. Well, I certainly like the 5-star hotels. Aruba, when I was there, was a little windy, you know, but the Caribbean is a great place to hang out. And then you just wait till it blows over. Go find your nice Caribbean island somewhere and hang out in the island. Yeah,
it's
hot.
And they have a casino. And I mean, what else can you ask for?
No, I'm totally with you. You know,
Yeah.
that's a good solution. You know, for those people that want deals on. Now the problem is you have to get on the airplane, but don't worry, the airplane's going to be empty. You get your.
I believe U.S. government should subsidize people who are going to Aruba to save themselves from coronavirus. I mean, it's a health decision, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a health decision that you have to go out to the Caribbean islands and hang out. You know, that would be a potential solution. And you're right. The cost is next to nothing. From RDU, you can go $328 round trip on JetBlue. Seriously, down to the Grand Cayman Islands. So hang out on one of the islands, which is really great. Well, you get a great idea, Sasha. You know.
Okay, let's go.
Let's head out to the islands for a couple weeks and then come back and then see what the situation is.
And we can do this broadcast from Aruba just as well.
That's true. Yeah, that's the good news about the internet. You can broadcast. And for our friends at chess.com, you know, you can play chess all over the, world on the internet. So it's not a real problem. So that's pretty good. Well, anyway, the thing is, what we're going to try to do is do a special on Friday at 10 o'clock. Rather than have our meeting, we're going to have a special on the coronavirus. We'll have some experts on board as panelists, and we plan on having it through using this service called StreamYard, as opposed to the GoToMeeting. So what we're going to do is run it through this. This works, as you notice, a little bit differently, and we're broadcasting live also in a lot of different channels right now. In case you didn't know on that, so it does have some good features. And yesterday we had somebody from Hong Kong that was speaking on what's going on in China for the first time. So we had some impact. The latest news that we got from China is they shut down the city, of Hong Kong. In other words, they basically quarantine everybody in the whole city, which to me is amazing because that's a big city. It's very bustling. Can you imagine Manhattan closing down, or Toronto, or Melbourne? I mean, would be pretty big. But they did because they're trying to prevent the spread of the coronavirus in China. Mm-hmm. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna see a lot of that take place as time goes by.
Yeah, what we need to do is continue these real life stories.
Yeah.
A little bit every day so that people hear what's really going on in the other countries. What I learned yesterday was pretty shocking to me, where they tried pretty much put a gag on the stories when it first came out, trying to prevent a panic. And I think by doing that, they cheated a lot of people from protecting themselves, from making those personal choices of, do I really want to travel and go to that conference? Look at it this way. Several people, 5 people came back from a conference here to North Carolina, and they came back from a bio conference, and they all brought back the disease with them. Yeah. So, I mean, I think
horrible.
Panic, like Dick said the other day, panic is a good thing. It's very important. Yeah. I think we need to be a little on the side of ridiculous and stay home.
I'm good at that, although I do want to play golf and tennis tomorrow, and I'm not sure how we're going to do that because I have to come in contact with people that may have traveled and people where someone could be carriers. In the meantime, I'm going to have to carry off because I got another meeting. So I'm going to sign off, guys.
I think it's time. We're at the end of the hour. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and sharing your world stories. Willie, I always love to have you on board. Sasha, many thanks.
Yeah, good day, Mike.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Kim?
Hello, Sasha?
Yeah, one quick question to you. Who is playing grand piano?
Not me. I'm visiting someone, so it's not mine.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I bet you play, don't you?
Oh, I love to play piano.
Well, maybe you can play for us one day. We do that. We have musicians come, so we would love that.
It's unavoidable. I will definitely do that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kim. See you on Friday.
See you on Friday.
Bye.